You actually go outside in these things?
What would you prefer? Yellow spandex?
Superheroes. This week. No, this episode. No, wait a second. All right, take two.
Destructomundo, take three.
Superheroes. This episode of Destructomundo.
It's on. It's on. There's no sound. Play with the rabbit ears.
It reports, incredible as they seem, are not the results of mass hysteria.
Mass hysteria. What do they think we're imagining all this?
Destructomundo. Witnesses to the effect that people who acted as though they were in a kind of trance were killing and eating their victims prompted authorities to examine the bodies of several victims. Medical authorities in Cumberland have concluded that in all cases, the killers are eating flesh. People they murdered. Repeating this latest bulletin of justice in Maryland. Civil defense authorities have told you that murdered victims show evidence of having been partially devoured by their murderers.
Are we on?
Yeah, we're on.
We're on and recording, and we're back.
We're back, yeah, from a long, long hiatus.
Just got out of jail.
It's third season. Well, you can't do continuous shows. I mean, you can't just continuously do one week after week without
like
some
work.
kind of break. Sure. I mean, we had time to plan. We had to build the sets and everything, and record all the special effects. That sort of stuff.
All the new costumes.
As much as we're getting
All the
paid,
new costumes.
as much as we're getting paid, you figure we would already have done some of these.
That's right. We have to welcome our unpaid, is he our unpaid intern? Is that what it is?
Oh, jeez.
Oh,
he's
terrible.
Oh, gosh.
He's not the
Unpaid
intern.
So which of you do I give the foot rub to first?
We have to welcome Jeremiah. Jeremiah, thank you for being a part of this show.
I'm glad to be the poor man's Ted.
The poor man's Ted, even. He's the breather.
Yeah, Ted got sent to Guantanamo Bay for national health or national security risk. So
Oh, okay. Is he a prisoner or working there?
yes,
Yes.
Indeed.
Oh, yeah. That's
Enjoying
what I
Fruit
expect.
Loops and reading the Koran.
Did you say Fruit Loops?
Yeah, they give them Fruit Loops. Apparently
Oh,
that's like
really?
the big to-do, is all the Muslims really love the Fruit Loops. I guess they don't get them over there.
Interesting.
Of course, what we don't tell them is we secretly make them out of pork.
Pork Fruit Loops. I'm down with pork Fruit Loops. They should totally have those on the market.
I don't want pork flavored breakfast cereal.
It doesn't have to be pork flavored. It just has to be pork
Or even a
in it,
fruit
so I
flavored
get my
dinner.
pork. Gotta have my
No
pork.
thanks.
Gotta have the pork. So yes, this is the first episode back on the third season.
The return of Destructomundo.
We did the Return of the Creature of the Hand of the...
Return of the Curse of the Ghost of the Hand of Destructomundo?
Yeah.
I think that's what it was.
Cluing them in onto one of the lost episodes.
No, we haven't recorded our lost episode yet.
No, we haven't.
Well, I thought every time James didn't push record was a lost episode.
We have had some technical difficulties.
No, that's just a lost nugget of gold
Yeah,
Yeah.
we totally lost.
that drifted into the ether.
Ted will never know the amount of ribbing that we gave him before we started recording this.
Until you just said something
first
about it.
of the new season. Ted is working diligently on his
Grandmaster Ninja certification?
Yeah, he's his what is the guy? Count what is it? What? Oh, the Denmark guy.
Oh, Count.
What's his name?
Basie.
You talking about the comic book ad guy?
Yeah.
Count Dante?
Yeah.
That's the most dangerous man on earth or whatever?
Count Dante. He's working on
the
his
Black
Count
Dragon
Dante.
Kung Fu Society.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, I love that.
Count Dante, the deadliest man on earth or whatever. Send in like $9.95 and some box tops or whatever, and you get the book on how to kill people with your touch. I don't
Yeah.
know. Something.
It's totally
Something to that
awesome.
effect. But he'll be back someday. But
Yeah, he needs to get his study on. Plus, he's got a brand new daughter. So congratulations.
And apparently they require some work.
They do. They have to be molded and shaped into female warriors.
Molded and shaped.
Yeah.
I was going to say, that sounds
You have to
like...
start them off
So you're gonna
early, man.
cut off one of the breasts so she can pull the bowstring back.
They're gonna
Well, I
do that
don't-
inking thing to her head. Strap the boards onto her head. gets all-
Skull boarding and wrap her feet. Jesus Christ.
Oh my God, Ted's gonna kill us. We're dead. We're just dead.
Okay, no, we shouldn't talk about that stuff.
No, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's
he's got a
great
lot to
news.
do. Ted will be back, but
he's embracing his Incan heritage by skull boarding his daughter.
Excellent.
so superheroes. This is the
Superheroes.
counterpart to our early episode, supervillains.
Mm-hmm.
And you know, if you got supervillains out to destroy the world, of course you have to have superheroes to come and save it, or inadvertently destroying it by doing the same.
Well, usually it's actually the other way around, where the supervillain pops up after the superhero.
Explain.
Well, you know, Lex Luthor's playing around in the lab, got a full head of hair. Superman comes in during the lab accident, uses his super breath. Lex Luthor loses his hair and becomes his enemy.
Ah, very good, very good. Yeah, that's true. Dr. Doom.
The Red Hood, small-time criminal. Batman knocks him to a vat of chemicals. Out popped the Joker.
Yeah.
Lab accident, Reed Richards and Victor Von Doom.
Yep. Poor Victor.
Yeah, but he did end up with his degree because he is Dr. Doom, so it couldn't have been that bad.
Indeed, he did stay and get his.
What, his
It's
doctoral-
almost a requirement of being a superhero is that you end up creating
What does he have a
your best
doctorate in?
supervillain.
What was his dissertation like? How did Dr. Doom defend his dissertation?
I don't know. It's probably the physics of magic because he used both, the science and magic,
Yep.
since his mother was a gypsy.
Oh, that's right. Dr. Doom's
Yeah.
mother was a gypsy. Because
So
that's
he
why
knew
he
the
didn't
gypsy
side
magic.
with the Nazis and all that
Yeah.
garbage. Like the Red Skull and Captain America.
Hitler's bellboy.
That's right.
He was a bellboy. He was very
Red
efficient at
Skull
the Hitler
was Hitler's
Hitler stayed
bellboy.
at, and
Or he's a bellboy in a hotel that Hitler was staying
Yeah,
at.
and
And
he
he
was
said, I
very
can
efficient.
mold this bellboy into an officer.
yeah.
And they did.
Yes, indeed.
That should be a movie, Hitler's bellboy.
Dude, if they ever make a Captain America movie and don't have the Red Skull in it,
They did, and it was terrible.
they had the
You
Red
know what?
Skull in
I take that back. They didn't make it, so don't look for it.
it? Okay, I won't.
It does not exist.
Like there are no Highlander sequels.
What? They mean Holland? What?
No, they're not any.
I heard a rumor they were going to make another one, but I don't think they ever did.
didn't work out.
I don't think so.
Hmm.
So, like most superheroes, everybody recognizes from comic books, and you have your typical superhero with lots of superpowers, and then you have the ones that are like more like Batman with the deep seated illness, basically.
The
Mental
and the
illness
gadgets.
from
What has been dubbed underwear perverts?
Yeah, underwear
Yeah.
perverts, right?
Those guys.
Because superheroes TM.
So, yeah. Now that Marvel owns the copyright
To
and
the-
trademarking to the word superhero.
Superheroes.
They share it with DC.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
We're gonna-
They
who do we have to pay for this episode?
I
don't know.
I don't know.
Is it like
I'll
a
check
penny
into
every
that.
time we say the word superhero?
Stop,
You should
dude.
call the
You're
name-
so bankrupt as we're already. Like we're totally in the hole. What if it isn't a penny? What if it's like $1?
Well, the name of this episode is Super Duper Heroes.
Man, that's going to cost extra, dude. They're going to get us for like 50 cents.
No, see, we split it. It's super heroes,
Oh,
not
super.
superheroes.
Or how about Sue?
You just said
Or
it again.
Heroes, like SUE and then
Super.
PER and then Heroes.
Heroes. They're dude.
These are heroes
The
who are
sentence
really, really super.
Or you could just use a double O instead of the U.
We should
Super.
Super Heroes.
superhero.
Where's SOUPER?
Oh, in for a penny, in for a pound. iPhone, Microsoft Windows.
Oh man.
Yeah.
We're screwed. Stanley's going to be on the phone tomorrow.
Stanley.
I want my money.
The angry phone call from Stanley.
There was an argument between Mego, the old action figure toy line,
Mm-hmm.
and Marvel and DC for superheroes, and they ended up settling with Mego, and Mego sold them the, I guess the rights or trademark to superheroes for $1 a piece.
Really?
Yes, they did. That was the settlement. Marvel gave them $1, DC gave them $1.
And now they own it?
Yeah, well, there's some argument over that.
I didn't know that was the resolution. I saw where Marvel had tried to claim they had created it or something.
Well, that's the comic book buzz.
Yeah.
But that's how it ended up.
So what we're talking about superheroes possibly saving the world.
Well, yeah.
Okay.
Or unintentionally destroying it.
Right.
The theory being that...
Now, how do they unintentionally destroy it?
Well, the theory being is since there are superheroes, your normal man doesn't, strive for the stars. Like, why become a volcanologist if every time a volcano is about to explode, Superman goes in and stops it? Why be a seismologist whenever, an earthquake's going to happen and Reed Richards figures out a way of stopping it?
Okay.
Instead of that, you become like a plastic surgeon, and next thing you know, Dr. Doom kills Reed Richards, and every time there's an earthquake, millions of people die.
That's a good point. I never really thought.
But he's not the only. But there's other superheroes.
Well, that's, in the non-fiction, there's the fiction world and the non-fiction world. We're assuming there are superheroes in the non-fiction world, and that would be one of the detriments.
But we're thinking that in our world, in the extremely small chance that there ever were an actual superhero,
right?
They would be the only one.
Yes. Or conceivably.
Or
a small, a few of them.
They're not going to be like a whole bunch of them.
Well, I'll tell you one job that does exist in the world of superheroes, and that is a reporter.
There are a lot of reporters
lots
in the superhero
of reporters,
world.
Lots of newspapers.
Well, there's more news.
There's actually,
the superheroes create more news.
Yeah,
Paris Hilton would be like a 5-minute blurb if... Green Lantern had just saved us from a killer satellite.
Right, or Superman sneaking in his own articles. Clark Kent,
or Submariner threw a bus at somebody.
Yeah.
I love the Submariner.
He's
like
great.
My favorite.
He was great. He was
favorite.
Great. Bad attitude.
Oh, yeah, he hates everybody, dude.
Pick up a bus and throw it at people.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good stuff. I could see how that would be good for the ratings.
Sure.
Yeah.
But would you become tired of it? Would you be like, oh, those goddamn super people doing stuff
I'm sure
again?
you would. I'm sure you like the first time that traffic was tied up because Spider-Man was fighting Dr. Octopus and you were late to work, you would be really, really mad.
Wonder Woman getting out of her invisible jet.
I don't think I'd get mad about that.
Oh, I got to see that. Oh, yeah. It didn't. Like Brittany. God, that didn't even look right.
Oh, the big Montana.
It didn't even. Was it like?
Arby's should use that picture as advertisement.
Oh, there was the line, and Jeremiah crossed it.
You open the door.
Luckily, she opened the door, and it's like at the tattoo of the big Montana over it.
Yeah, okay.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I think I just got fired from Destructomundo.
You were totally fired. We're editing you out.
Arby's is going to sue us.
You were being edited out of the rest of the
Arby's,
show.
Microsoft, Steve Jobs.
Replacing
Stan
Jeremiah
Lee.
will be the droid.
Jeremiah Bot 9000.
Who was the
poor man?
Who was the robot from Fantastic Four?
Herbie.
Herbie.
And it was an acronym, and
Yeah.
I cannot remember what the acronym stands for.
Yeah.
It was like HERBIE.
When they replaced...
We're deathly afraid kids are going to set fire to everything.
Yeah.
Oh, that was great.
Which is funny because most kids are out in the backyard playing with matches that they didn't even get a chance to see the cartoon.
That's great.
Oh, that's.
But I was going to say, I've always hoped, and just very, very, very much wished for some real costumed vigilante underwear pervert, to show up in the world.
Just
they
say
were
you
showing
wish
up
you
at
could
the,
be that.
Oh, I mean, I wish. Yeah, I wish I was that fucking crazy. To just sit at home and work out all the time, and mold yourself into this fighting machine, and then dress up and go out at night and attack people.
What would you do?
But I'm honestly, sometimes I'm really surprised that there isn't as many crazy fucking people as there are in the world.
Right.
And how so many of them lack originality to where they have to be inspired to get fucking crazy. You know what I mean? like where like somebody watch a bunch of the superhero movies or read a bunch of comics and then decide they're actually going to do it.
Well, it's like Unbreakable.
And
you had the guy that.
Well, I mean that's a different sort of thing. Yeah, but
it's almost the reverse of the normal, where the superhero unintentionally creates the supervillain. It's the supervillain trying to create the superhero.
Tries to create.
But I'm really surprised that there aren't people like who, get arrested like dressed in some weird outfit out like fighting people out in the streets.
Most of them end up like climbing buildings for like men who don't want to pay their
like
child support.
Yeah, but he'd be like that guy, the guy that made the Tron suit that gets all his unitards from the one place. It's like,
but
I get all my unitards from.
Well, there was that guy in England, like that dressed as Batman or Spider-Man, and like climbed a building because he didn't want to pay his child support.
He climbed Parliament.
Yeah,
really.
Yeah, there was some organization that I think it's not that he didn't want to pay his child support; it's that he wasn't getting like visitation rights.
Oh, is that what it was?
So he donned the
that would be terrible.
Spider-Man costume and climbed Parliament.
That was Batman, I think.
Huh.
Yeah.
That would definitely get your kids back.
Yeah, it's like, how could I get my kids
That's
back?
Cool, man. He dresses up like Batman. And
it was like they had a name, and it was like Equal Rights for Fathers or something like that.
Oh, okay. So he did it like as a publicity stunt,
which the Jeremiah Bot 9000 fully supports.
Which
is a poor man, Ted Bot 9000.
Ted Bot 9000 is very expensive to maintain.
Are we going to get sued by the makers of Ted Bot?
Ted might be working on a lawsuit.
No, he's a lawyer now. Oh, man.
Ted is working on
Ted is a fine gentleman.
But I was going to say, I'm surprised there isn't that sort of, that there really isn't more of that. Like people really, thinking that they're capable of being the costumed crime fighter, whatever you want to call it.
Right.
I
mean,
because that sort of self-made.
Well, are there superheroes out there?
Well, I don't think a unitard necessarily is the best costume in the world.
But I mean, but see, those people aren't technically like, in a way, they don't have superpowers. Those are the sort of the self-made ones,
Yeah.
Yeah.
They do. I mean, they're certainly in the comic books. They are heroic and everything, but they don't have superpowers. But as far as the possibility of actually, who knows? I mean,
The only person I could think of that could may be considered as a superhero, I guess if you're a Giants fan, would be Barry Bonds. Chemically altered human being, can do more than any other human being at his profession.
Got a point.
He's the only guy to hit more than 70 home runs, about to have more home runs than anybody ever. He's playing baseball with his knees basically are bone on bone, which is like, it's hard to do if you just like, are going to work and working in an office, much less playing baseball.
Sure.
And he's more than a human because of the things that he's done, that have been done to his body. Kind of like Captain America.
Man, what a prick.
Yeah, that's the difference. You have to be
but
like
he
a
doesn't have like
Giants fan.
laser vision or.
Well,
No.
yeah, but he's
Can't
stronger
throw-
and
can't-
faster than a normal human being.
He's not really that fast.
There's people
He
that
used
are
to
faster.
be
Yeah.
before
I
the
know
knees
some.
went.
I know some augmented ladies, and they're chemically altered.
I was going to say, do fake breasts count as a superpower?
Yeah, a good number of strippers I know are
They can
augmented and chemically
You figure
altered.
you'd have to do something to your brain to have mind control, but actually all you have to do is get bigger boobs.
Yeah, pretty much.
And you can control men.
But
Yes.
you do,
and defy gravity.
if you do go crazy.
And float.
Yeah.
With great power comes great responsibility. When you can't
Right,
handle
right.
it,
Stripper girl is totally nuts, but she has augmented breasts and she's chemically altered because she does.
Did you see Stripperella? I think that's what it was called.
No.
It's like Pamela Anderson is like a superhero who was a stripper.
Oh, that cartoon?
Yeah.
I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it either, surprisingly enough.
But they was drawn together with all like the superheroes and stuff. That was good. I like that.
That's good. So who is the first superhero?
The first superhero. I don't know. I'm guessing somebody probably like Superman.
Well, you could sort of take it back to like.
Do you think
Like-
you can make it Gilgamesh?
Yeah,
or-
Gilgamesh or
Gilgamesh.
Heracles
Yeah.
or Achilles.
Yeah. Okay. Good point.
Of course, that's in our world. In the fake world, the first superhero would be Captain Caveman.
Captain Caveman. Dude, Captain Caveman is totally awesome.
That's the life. Riding around in a van with 3 hot girls.
Hell yeah. Being all hairy,
Mhm.
letting it all
Carrying a
hang
big
out,
stick.
not wearing clothes. Got a club that with a bird that lives inside of it. And
was
all kinds of stuff.
Excellent.
Was that
Excellent.
him or Charlie Manson?
I know, Captain Caveman could have had it. He does. He's got his own cult.
Yeah.
Just Charlie Manson needed a club with a bird that lived inside of it.
It was a great, great cartoon.
Oh, I loved
Yes.
it.
It was the glory days of the early 80s. And just
that
Saturday
cartoon used the accordion hinge like no other cartoon.
that Saturday morning cartoons were just, it was a free-for-all, man. You could just
Oh,
put
man.
anything.
Oh, sure. Yeah, and of course.
Blue Falcon and the Dynamite.
Blue Falcon and Dynamite.
And you know what they did? The Blue Falcon and Dynamite was a great cartoon, but then they made it all edgy. Did you see the really
Yes.
edgy Blue Falcon
Yeah.
and Dynamite?
When it tried to be straight, it was like a straight...
Yeah.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
it was like fully like dark and
Yeah.
weird, and you're like, Dynamite is like kind of dark, and yeah, he had like glowing eyes and stuff like that. He's like
Yeah.
a robot dog.
Yeah, it was
that,
crazy.
You know, could kill.
Yeah.
I totally dig that. That's awesome. Yeah, but Blue Falcon and Dynamite. But then there was the straight ones too. You know, there was the top of the line Super Friends, man.
Super Friends.
Mm-hmm.
Like I was telling the fellows earlier, as soon as the theme song would come on as a child, I'd wear my Flash Fundaroos and run around the couch as fast as I could.
Oh yeah.
Completely convinced I was
Yeah,
breaking the
but-
speed of sound.
But man, there was some bad... I mean, Apache Chief.
Apache Chief. And he
Have you seen the
really
Harvey
big.
Birdman with Apache
And
Chief on
he
it?
put people on top of
Yeah,
everything.
but it's like, but the way they were like, they had all those like filler characters within the Super Friends and the Legion of Doom were like, so they could all like have their exact counterpart, you know.
If you were of
man,
different,
it was-
you know, if you were of a
with
minority
samurais,
race, you had to be the you had to be the stereotypical version of your of your race.
I don't know. Black Vulcan wasn't really the stereotypical
No,
black.
but then you had Apache Chief.
That was pretty bad.
It could have
Yeah.
just been an Apache without having to be Apache Chief. You know. And then,
who was completely made up for the Super Friends.
and
Never appeared in
Samurai,
a comic
you know,
book before
the
that.
Japanese guy. Of
Another
course,
one.
All Asian people knew
All-
martial arts.
And Black Vulcan, all 3 of them were completely made
Yeah,
up
I was
for
gonna
the
say that's what I
cartoon
mean.
show.
That's what was so bad about it is there was like those really cheesy, and then they all, you know, it was bad. Just everybody had, but it was so lame because everybody had their exact, you know,
What's the
like
thing was-
Aquaman had the
Manta.
Black Manta, you know.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
Green Lantern had Sinestro, and everybody had
Sinestro.
the guy with the yellow ring. You know, I mean, they all had their perfect.
cheesy, like villain mustache.
Yeah, he had the little.
It kind of looked like a purple David Niven.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But,
But the ultimate opposite, of course, is Bizarro.
yes.
Oh yeah,
Bizarro.
the exact opposite. Me and Bizarro.
Bizarro.
Bizarro's the coolest ever.
It was
though.
good stuff.
I don't know. Solomon Grundy's up there.
Solomon Grundy wants pants too.
Brainiac.
That is my favorite
Brainiac.
commercial.
That's the thing is like they completely made people up for the Super Friends, but the Legion of Doom were all comic book characters. They didn't make up a single one of those.
All the Legion of Doom was made up of
Yeah.
real,
Of
actual
ones that were actually in the comic books.
There wasn't Gleep, the monkey, or
No,
Jan.
none of that. Janzana, Marvin, Wendy.
Marvin,
What was
Wendy,
the
and
dog's
Wonder Dog.
name?
Wonder Dog.
Wonder Dog.
Marvin, Wendy, the Wonder Teens.
Yeah.
The Wonder Team.
Marvin,
Just a coloring
Wendy,
book with them in it.
Marvin and Wendy and Wonder Dog. Oh man, that's the one where they. I remember the one where they go back in time, and it's like Gorilla Grodd, and somebody goes back to Rome,
Yeah.
and they're getting all the treasure from Rome, and then like Batman and Superman, they come back in time to try to catch him, and they're like chasing him through time, and it was good stuff.
Gorilla Grodd is awesome.
I just remember the scene of them like in like ancient Rome, and it's like
Chariots.
it's Gorilla Grodd and
Was it Captain Cold?
I'm not sure, but I can see them with like in like this.
Captain Cold. Wow, that's yeah.
Leonard Snart, Flash villain.
See, I don't know all this.
Leonard Snart.
I don't know
Oh,
all this
man.
DC stuff. So
I'm so bad. I know. I in my defense, I worked at a comic book store for a couple of years.
Yeah,
so.
Jeremiah is wearing a fetching Aquaman T-shirt this evening.
Arthur
for the
Curry.
show.
Yeah,
The Golden Age Aquaman. The,
Silver Age, actually.
Silver
Kind of
Age,
like that
right.
Justice League satellite era.
The gauntlet gloves and the whole deal. Remember when they, like, in Aquaman...
When they tried to make him cool with the long hair and the hook.
long hair and the hook, and it made him
it's
gay.
terrible.
And you're like, oh my god.
Still not cool.
I mean, it's the writer's fault. I mean, if he can survive under like pressure in the ocean, he's obviously really strong and nigh invulnerable, and he can do the stuff with the fish and all that other kind of stuff. But
He sleeps with the fishes.
yeah, he sleeps with the fish.
I like the cartoon version where he rode around on the seahorse with Aqualad.
Aqualad.
That was good.
That was extra super gay.
That was another thing. What was the deal with the whole
And
the young versions? Because there were a lot of them in comic books.
Well, that
You
was
had like Batman and Robin, of course.
the theory was is you would at the birth of comic books that you sold comic books to boys, and boys like to imagine that they are in the comic book.
Right.
And to make it easier for them to imagine it, they gave guys kid sidekicks.
Right. Superman had his
Supergirl
buddy.
and Superboy.
Supergirl, Superboy. Actually, Superboy
Superboy
was
Superman.
Superman as a
Okay.
younger
No,
age.
Jimmy Olsen.
until the modern
Jimmy
age.
Olsen is kind of Superman's sidekick.
Yeah, that's
in a way.
Superman's like young man sidekick.
Right.
That was
But you had
Batgirl.
Bucky with
boy,
Captain
his
America.
boy toy.
Well, that's what was it? Friedkin, was that his name? That wrote Seduction of the Innocent. Which
Well,
yeah.
remember
made
the
whole-
cartoon
yeah.
version, the Green Lantern that had the little Venusian boy that rode on his back when he flew around?
What was the deal with
The
that?
little blue skinned Venusian boy with pointy ears that rode his back when he flew around. Wow, that was not at all gay.
I can't remember that character's name.
I love the ambiguously gay duo, dude. That
Oh,
is
that's great.
But
What are you all looking at? Nothing. They dress as one of them's dressed as like the Indian chief from the Village People, and the other's the biker, and they walk into the Irish bar called Oh Heteros. Why are they yelling at us? The Native American
Yeah,
has
the
a long way to go.
Assless chaps on.
Yeah. Oh Heteros. That's great.
Oh yeah, I love that show.
Oh my. Oh my.
But yeah, with the Super Friends, at least you had like counterparts. There were always somebody that they had to defeat.
Well, it's kind of the nature of the superheroes that
But
you
yeah,
get your opposite.
I was gonna say like that where
Right,
you're
which is
sort
why
of like.
this episode is so important to the counterpart of the supervillains. Yeah.
But I mean, I was gonna say like if the outside chance, slim possibility of like there ever being a real superhero. Like, there's probably only going to be one. There's not going to be, like, a bunch of them, you know.
Well, you don't have, like, your
I was
mutant ability.
No, I was going to say, like, the thing with, like, the Watchmen, where, like,
Right.
they're all underwear perverts. And then when Dr. Manhattan is created, suddenly there's a real, honest-to-God super being on Earth. And then, like, the rest of them are made obsolete.
Yeah.
Because you don't need guys in funky outfits beating people up in the streets. Because there's this guy that can teleport and fly and, you know, do all this stuff. But he's like this suddenly, and that's that sort of thing. What I was going to say is like I could see the possibility of it, of there being costumed vigilantes, and I'm surprised there aren't more of them, considering how many fucking crazy people there are in the world.
Right.
But I was going to say, if there ever were, like, by some strange chance, you know, whatever, the lab experiment gone wrong, whatever, some actual person gets some sort of superpowers, they would, you know, they would probably be the one and only actual super being.
Like when the Family Guy, where they all get superpowers, and like, and Lois, let's see, Peter can turn into anything. Lois is like super speedy, and no, Brian's super speedy, and I forget what Lois can do.
That was interesting.
But then
I saw this one episode of the show, and I kind of remember some of what happened.
I can't remember
There's that episode of
everybody
that
on
show.
the show. But yeah. Everybody gets a superpower, but Meg's fingernails can grow like long, and that's it.
Well, I was gonna say, like, if there were like some person that, you know, whatever, got superpowers in some way, obviously there's no guarantee they're going to be good, you know.
Well, yeah. And
So
the
I was
fact
gonna
that
say,
you're
like,
gonna be
Well, wasn't
the
there like a
top
guy
dog.
in the New Mutants that was like really good at math? When his name was like Cypher or something.
I didn't read New Mutants.
Yeah, it was like the mutant who was like, my mutant powers.
But
I'm really good at math."
I've always thought it would.
Very educational.
I've always thought it would, like, there had to be all those kids at Xavier's school that, like, didn't have cool powers, you know? They just sat around the house and couldn't do anything.
Like, I can keep dairy products fresh.
The guy that can talk to squirrels or whatever. And it's like, this is totally useless, but everybody thinks I'm weird because, you know, so I don't have any useful powers. But I was going to say, like, but if you had some person and somehow they got superpowers, you know, there's no guarantee that they're, you know, they can obviously go either way with it.
Yeah.
And depending on who they are, whatever, you know, and obviously there's tons of comics based around that very, you know, that person, that the way they're tested by that, in which way they go, you know, to good or evil or whatever.
Well, if they decide to go good, though, they're superheroes.
Yeah, but I'm saying there's you know, but then if they do go bad,
then they're supervillains.
But there isn't. But I said, but like there isn't going to be a superhero.
Well, that's why there's no arbitrary like giving of powers generally. Like there's no.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you fall in, if the radioactive waste lands on top of you, I mean, I guess you could be like pancreatic cancer man. But
and you could go around spreading cancer.
That's the thing.
I can generate.
They
cancer.
all had like in that Family Guy episode, like like the waste truck, the nuclear waste truck, like lands in their yard, and then Mayor Adam West goes to defeat them because they're trying to take over the town, and they make them have to. They make the life-size bust of what's the from Facts of Life? The
Tootie?
No, the
fat girl?
No,
Joe?
No,
Blair.
No,
Mrs. Garrett.
Mrs. Garrett. They make the life size bust, or they make the giant bust of Mrs. Garrett, and he like changes into her like bust line. And says, no, the mole's here, but they subject the town. They turn the town into slaves in order to make this monument of Mrs. Garrett. And Adam West says he's going to stop it, and he goes like to the nuclear waste dump and rolls around in the waste. And then you see him in a hospital bed, and his doctor says, Mr. West, you have lymphoma. And that's
I guess
the best that comes
your best
out
bet
of it.
would you might get to turn into the Toxic Avenger.
Yeah.
Toxic Avenger. Another one, horribly disfigured by the toxic waste, but yet superhero.
So was the mop
with
magic,
mop.
or did he just hit people with it real hard?
I think he just hit people with it real hard. He's a big guy.
Yeah.
So a mop in the hands of such a guy would probably do quite a bit of damage. Plus, if you got the mop wet.
Yeah.
With toxic
It's kind of icky.
Yep. And it's heavier.
Toilet water.
It is heavier.
It's like a soft...
Because if it had like
pliable
nasty
hammer.
toilet water on it, nobody would want to get hit with it.
Yeah.
Hell yeah, that's just like if you strip naked and like if you get in a fight with a guy and strip totally naked, chances are they won't fight you.
More than likely
They're
not.
terrified you're going to wrestle them. Let's wrestle.
Yeah.
That's your costume.
Yeah.
Naked guy.
You should just strip down and you look at him like, man, I bet you
Naked
kiss hard.
guy.
I bet you kiss the hardest. Prove it, man.
You win, dude.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think you get a lot of takers for that fight.
No, I don't guess so. Yeah, but then, but like I was saying, with the arbitrary giving of powers, you don't really get the people going either way.
I mean,
in
would it
any
be
other
as
situations? You have the mutants, like mutants, are born with their abilities. And if they're ostracized by society and made to suffer for being a mutant, they can go either way because of that. I mean, like Nightcrawler. Nightcrawler couldn't go out.
well, yeah, but it's
But he could have gone either way because like he was totally different. He couldn't hide his mutant abilities. He
Yeah.
was, blue. And,
Bamf.
Yeah, Bamf. I still love that.
yeah,
That's another thing superheroes got is great sound effects.
yeah.
But yeah, I know what you mean. Like the ugly ones, the ones that couldn't blend in. Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ones that can't have a secret identity.
Right.
Yeah, obviously.
But then you have your other ones like Wolverine that, nobody really...
The anti-hero.
Yeah, nobody knows he's a mutant until, like, you try to kill him and then he heals up right away. Or he pulls his adamantium claws out.
Well, it's not his mutant power, though.
Well,
the healing factor.
It supposedly is his mutant power because they took away his claws and then
he had
bones
claws.
came
He had like
out.
bone claws.
Yeah, actual bones came out. So
they grafted the adamantium onto the claws.
Yeah, it was theorized that they made they were actually that happened in the comics.
Like
that's canon material,
90s,
my
maybe?
friend.
I don't
Canon
remember that.
material.
Yeah, it was like right in the big when they had Uncanny X-Men, and then they introduced the X-Men comic book without the Uncanny to go along with Uncanny.
I remember that.
Like the second or third issue, like Magneto pulls all the adamantium out of his body, and it turns out he still has claws. They're like big bone claws.
Yeah, but he didn't realize it right away. It happened like in some kind of like...
And I do believe there is a hologram on the cover of that issue.
I love holograms.
In case you're looking for it.
I don't remember that.
Is it holographic? The cover?
Most holograms are.
Awesome.
Not the entire cover. There's like almost like the size of a baseball card, like in the
Right.
upper right-hand corner, maybe.
Because it's super expensive.
It's been a little
to make
while since I've read it.
They have to use lasers.
Lasers.
Yes.
Yep.
Cool. Anything involving lasers is cool.
Yeah.
It was the Avengers villain who was the living laser.
A living laser. My favorite villain, I'll tell you a cool, obscure villain, just because I just thought of this, was the High Evolutionary.
No, that's
a good
right.
one.
And he could, bring you up to...
He was
the
one of those
level.
obscure Marvel villains.
the
that
High
I-
Evolutionary.
So much of a villain as he was more almost like a force of nature.
Yeah, he was
Yeah.
just one of those weird dudes that was kind
He
of
did
off
some
on
stuff
his...
to some people and,
Well,
changed
he
them
was
into
kind of like
things.
the scientist with no, I guess, rules for
Yeah,
using his science.
It was all like... He was cool.
Well, then there's the superheroes that are accidental superheroes, more or less. Not so much accidental, but they use their powers in a neutral way, or they're given powers, like Silver Surfer. Silver Surfer was the herald of Galactus. Galactus went stomping around the universe eating planets. He's a really big guy that likes to eat planets. I don't understand that whole deal. I mean, he
was that hungry.
But Silver Surfer...
He'd ate a Chinese planet an hour earlier.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I'm still hungry. Go find
Now we're
me
going to get
another
sued by the
planet.
Chinese.
Chinese. We do have some listeners in China, and I'd like to say hello.
And good luck.
Hello in Chinese to our listeners in China. No, I won't do it.
Oh, anyway. Anyway.
Oh, that was a holdback. Yeah.
So what about the Silver Surfer?
Well, he became a superhero by the fact that the Fantastic Four was like, don't eat our planet, be a good guy. And then Galactus was like, well, you can't, okay, fine, you can't leave Earth. And then they had the whole series of the Silver Surfer where he just was on the planet, surfing around Earth. Which is kind of weak when you think about it. You're like, man, way to cut the balls off Silver Surfer.
He didn't have balls.
That's right.
Well,
he did
that's
not have
correct.
silver balls.
He may have had before he got turned into the Silver
Yeah,
Surfer.
my balls.
Remember, they just
Sure,
hadn't
with their
descended
race.
yet.
Yeah. I'm not sure what race he was.
I remember reading in a comic book that he was in. He had to sleep only because he was supposed to dream, because it would make him go crazy if he couldn't dream about stuff, And, but he didn't need to sleep. He was indefatigable. There's a word you don't use every day.
The HMS Indefatigable?
Yes.
I believe his name was Norrin Rad on his home planet.
Rad.
Norrin Rad. What a great name.
Yeah, that was a good name.
But he got to
Kinda like
fly
Max
around
Power.
the universe and on his surfboard.
Yeah.
Apparently surfboards were big on his planet. I don't know.
If I was going to travel through space, surfboard would probably be one of my top choices.
Sure. I mean, if you had to pick something to go around on,
Mm-hmm.
other than the Millennium Falcon.
Well, yeah.
Or a jetpack.
through
Jetpack.
space.
Through space.
I ran out of fuel already. This thing doesn't hold enough. Got to go to other planets just to get some fuel. You get
Let's
up there.
get like a fine carpet.
Flying
Space.
flying carpet would be
Or
dope.
the Submariner's ankle wings.
Yeah, that's right.
Right on.
Submariner is apparently he's an Atlantean, so he can breathe underwater. But he's
Super
also
strong.
a mutant because he has wings on his
Yes.
feet.
That's that's
He's
what
a
differentiates
mutant
himself.
Atlantean.
Well, he's one of those guys who was initially not really a good guy. He was more of a, but he wasn't really a bad
Well,
guy
he's
either.
Namor, Prince Namor.
But I mean,
of
he was
Atlantis.
introduced as kind of a, he wanted to be down there in Atlantis doing his thing and like just.
But
Yeah,
the
people.
Nazis and their
You know,
U-boats
He
kept
just like as
messing
long
with
as people
him.
left them alone, he was okay. And then they kept fucking with shit. And then he came up on the surface and started busting
Well,
shit
he was
up.
one of the what's it called?
It's one of the first.
Defenders.
It's the first big superhero versus superhero battle was the original Human Torch and Submariner, kind of like the fire versus
that's
water
right,
thing.
Yeah.
So
The original Human Torch was an
Android,
android, right? Much like Vision.
and he had a buddy called Toro, a little boy android who would burst into flames. Yeah, I think that's worse than Batman and Robin.
Toro, come save me, Toro. Yeah. No, that's terrible.
okay.
But that's a important part of being a superhero is fighting other superheroes through some sort of accident or misidentification or
Right.
yeah, that's
But there
that's
were-
what happens before the big team up. Is you
Right.
see each other, you fight, you find out you're both good guys, and then you go fight whoever
There is, and
convinced
there
you to
was
fight.
various battles out, through all of the comic book history.
Mhm.
Like, you had Human Torch,
And Submariner being the first.
Submariner, and then you had
Well, the most recent, I think, big fight was Superman and Wonder Woman,
did they actually fight?
Yeah.
Really?
and Wonder Woman held her own.
Well, she couldn't have got slapped down, like.
Oh
You need to cut
Well,
that
see,
out.
the deal is that Superman's vulnerable to kryptonite and magic, and in essence, she is a magical being.
Oh, okay. So
So she was able
Oh.
to hold her own.
She had that Atlantean sword too that cut him.
Yeah, she actually cut him with her tiara too. She'd take the tiara off and throw it like a boomerang.
Oh,
Cut him up pretty good with it.
did you get the lasso out?
Oh yeah, oh yeah. Gotta have the lasso.
Tell the truth. The story behind Wonder Woman is pretty crazy. That the guy that he was a doctor and made I can't remember what he did exactly, but he had we researched this show very carefully. He was kind of like a freaky he liked women. And he ran a sanitarium or something like that, and then but he made he was all about bondage, and the magic lasso had to do with his bondage fetish, and in every comic book in the early days of Wonder Woman, he would have her bound, and she couldn't escape. From her bindings, but she would be ball gagged straight up, and tied and everything.
Well, in the Seduction of the Innocent, they also mentioned that Wonder Woman promoted bondage and lesbianism.
Good for her.
And?
I think is one of the things why
What's
they
wrong?
introduced
That's my
Steve
kind
Trevor.
of superhero right there.
Look, there are much worse platforms that you could
Yeah,
be promoting.
indeed. But yeah, you had as far as fighting superheroes, because that was always the big selling point, was the superhero versus superhero, because they're both good, but
They're
yet
both
they're
good.
against each other. Why are they against
And they both
each
have
other?
completely different powers, which
And it always ended
made
up
it
in a
interesting.
draw. Nobody ever really.
most of the time
won.
it was a draw. There were times of
Punisher
read a
versus
few,
Spider-Man. I remember that.
There's been a few comic books. I think Superman fought Captain Marvel and beat him up pretty good. And I think he was possessed by Eclipso.
Batman
Not
versus
to,
the Dark Knight fights Superman.
yeah, that was a good one.
Well, there was
There's even been intercompany crossovers where DC heroes have actually fought Marvel superheroes.
Yeah, they did that.
Superman versus the Hulk and
Man Thing versus Swamp Thing.
Oh, I think they just.
I think that took place in court.
Oh, I'm sorry. That was just a dream I had in my head. That was just one of my little fantasies. Which one is
awesome
that?
for the
But you
print
see,
page.
is that Man Thing or Swamp Thing? I don't know. They look the
Which
same.
one is
Which
the
one?
Guardian of the Nexus? Is that Man Thing? Or
I think that's Swamp Thing, and Man Thing is the one that can touch you and you like see your worst fear or something like that.
Man Thing had all kinds of funky.
They're both just
tentacles
shambling
hanging out.
mounds.
Yeah,
Basically, yeah. With the carrot noses.
yeah.
Oh, that's Man Thing. Man Thing's got
Man
the.
Thing
Yeah,
had
he's got
like
the big
the things
pickle
that-
nose. I
yeah.
think is what he's got.
Swamp Thing was.
Big salads.
Do you know those Swamp Thing movies are damn good?
God. Yeah, Adrian
Those
Barbeau and it.
Yeah.
Those are good stuff.
Yeah.
And the bad guy from Octopussy.
Louis Jourdain.
Yeah.
Louis Jourdain.
And the great Dick Durock as Swamp Thing. I wonder what ever happened to him. I don't know. But
I remember when he got his arm cut off and like the little stick,
like the little
like,
twig
protruded.
with the
And
two
it was
leaves
like
on it. It's good stuff,
I
man.
made a new arm. It was awesome.
See, that's a
And
guy,
then
you
there's
know,
the
that's a
pig
guy who's, yeah.
The little pig guy. 'cause
And
he-
the guy with like the octopus head.
Yeah.
But see, there's a guy, you know, he's a doctor, you know, he's
Botanist, I believe.
trying to do
yeah,
good, you know,
he was a swamp like
horrible accident, you know, and he gets, you know, turned into Swamp Thing, and then, you know, he could have sat around feeling sorry for himself, you know. Now I'm all like, you know, living swamp moss,
right.
whatever, you know. But no, he saw, you know, now I have an opportunity to do something, you know. I can really make a difference now.
Yeah, but they made him guardian of the Nexus like
Well,
the
yeah.
Nexus?
but that's
later on because
What
he
is
had
that?
nothing to do. There was like a Nexus to the
Elemental plane of Earth or
Did
something.
anybody
like
ever-
that.
did you ever
in the
read
swamp,
Nexus?
And he was
Of what?
Do you remember Nexus, the
I
comic?
remember Nexus.
I used to read
I'm
Nexus.
trying to remember who drew
what's
that.
Nexus?
Nexus was an independent comic,
I
like
know.
way before indie comics were cool.
Yeah.
Indie comics are cool.
Well, now they
You know,
are.
Flaming Carrot, the Badger, Miracle Man, all kinds of good stuff.
But Nexus was a
That
fairly-
brings us to indie comics then. And
But
indie
Nexus was a guy. He had the
Which means all the superheroes have really bad haircuts.
Nexus was
And cried a lot.
he had
Like-
they called it like the what was it, like the power of the stars or something? But he had like some,
Yeah.
you know,
He was almost like a Solar Man of the Atom type.
but
Oh,
his
kinda like,
his thing was that he like traveled the cosmos hunting mass murderers.
Yeah, it was an interesting comic book.
He like, and he was sort of like he was kind of in a line of, you know, sort of like the Green Lantern Corps type of thing.
Yeah.
And like he had become the next Nexus after the, you know.
Okay, so there was like a continuation of his role.
But I mean, the comic was this guy, but he was like,
yeah, but
he was
yeah,
one of
There were
many,
guys
yeah.
who did his
one
job
of many
previously.
of
Yeah.
his position.
But he had become this thing.
I can't remember, was he the only one, or were there other ones?
I think there's only one at one
Only
time.
one
yeah,
time.
but
Well,
he
Green Lantern Corps is the same way. I mean, Green Lantern like isn't really a superhero as much as he's like
He's a cop.
He's a cop,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
In each,
He's-
recently they've assigned more than one to each sector. But before there was one
He
per
went
sector of the
insane
universe.
too, and like killed all the Green
Killed
Lantern.
all of them. Of course, you know, it's comic books. A lot of them came back. There's actually 3 human Green Lanterns. Section 2814.
Hal Jordan.
We are sitting right now in section 2814 of the universe, in case anybody's interested.
Really?
Yes.
Wow, that's cool.
Hal Jordan, Guy Gardner, and John Stewart.
Yeah, John Stewart killed them all, right?
No, Hal Jordan killed them
Hal
all.
Jordan killed them all?
Yes. But now, you know, it's actually, interestingly enough, the listeners out there, the Sinestro Corps Quarterly, or new issue or whatever, came out last week and
Sinestro Corps?
sold out within an hour. That's the power of
Really?
Sinestro. Sold out within an hour. I actually had to buy one on eBay for like $9. I was mad.
Wow, that's incredible. I never really thought that would happen in a
To
modern
add to
day.
the balance, because there were, you know, 5,000 Green Lanterns and one Sinestro.
Right.
Now it's evened up now.
The Sinestro Corps.
So Sinestro has like the yellow ring.
He has the yellow ring.
That's the only thing that the Green Lanterns can't.
Yes.
Anything yellow, they're like powerless to affect.
Well, they've changed that a little bit too. Mostly it's the rookie Green Lanterns that have the
Oh.
problem with the yellow.
They got to change.
Everything changes.
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, Superman originally could only leap over tall buildings in a single bound, but now he can fly.
Oh, yeah.
Because at the time they thought somebody flying was ridiculous. But being able to jump over the Empire State Building is perfectly logical.
Of course it is.
Wait,
Or being able to,
Why'd
pick
they
up
draw him with a
car.
cape if he couldn't fly?
I have no idea.
Because it just looked good.
Yeah.
Wearing a cape.
Flash, dude. I mean, it's like style, man. It's,
That's the
flashy, styling.
the Seinfeld episode where George's dad is in the scene in the city with
The man in the
cape, and he's like, "Who wears a cape?" And he's like, "Well, it's good cape weather. It's breezy, chilly."
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, you notice a guy in a cape. I mean, there's
sure.
no way you don't notice a guy
Right,
in a cape.
right.
So.
Well, I mean, as much as a cape is like a really kind of odd thing to have for most people, wearing your underwear on the outside of your pants is also probably a little strange.
Superheroes and rap stars.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just the whole,
they're
like,
starting a trend.
the tights.
Batman's
and
got those rims, man. I think that's where that stuff.
that whole thing with the
The domino
tights.
mask.
Yeah, there's a lot of
That didn't have anything to connect
guys.
It just kind of like fit.
There's a lot of those guys that are just kind of like in the wrestler briefs.
Yeah.
With like
Right.
and well, like I mean,
Like circus strongman pants.
I mean,
and stuff.
like Submariner just had like those green trunks,
Right.
And he's just raw except for that. I mean, he's
And
just
the thing were blue trunks.
Yeah, there's just those guys in the trunks.
Everybody's got a six-pack, man. What is the deal?
I mean, they're just
Everybody's all like totally ripped. I mean, even if
There have been very few comic books where there has been a superhero that was like fat or
regular,
just completely out of shape.
Like,
I can think of the Blue Beetle for a while.
I can't
without
count
a shape,
on one
but
hand anyone I know that has a six-pack set of abs.
Besides me,
I mean, I don't really hang out with a bunch of people.
They can't
that take
see
their
this,
shirt
right?
off all the time.
Yeah.
Hey,
we're not really like.
because my house is kind of like the 7-Eleven. It's like new shoes, no shirt. Get the hell out of my house.
So
Unless you're,
unless you have wings on your ankles.
unless you're totally ripped.
Unless you can throw a bus.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you can.
You don't argue that too
For
much.
some reason, that's the mental picture I have of Namor is him like standing somewhere in New York City with a bus over his head, throwing it
a
at
couple of
some-
cops like shooting at it,
Yeah.
and bullets bouncing off.
and he's throwing it at somebody like Spider-Man or somebody. Like, shut up! And he throws a bus at him.
Does he call them land dwellers or surface dwellers? I can't remember which.
surface. I think it's surface dwellers. It's something like that.
Right.
Surface dwelling scum or something, and he drops a bus on their head. But
Well,
a couple issues of the Fantastic Four, he would invade, New York City with the Atlanteans and try to steal the Invisible
should
Girl.
totally invading New Jersey.
Why?
I don't know.
Say why.
Explain
Fight
that
for
to me.
invasion? I don't know.
Is he a big Bon Jovi fan?
There's not much.
Who more represents New Jersey in song? Bruce Springsteen or Bon Jovi?
I would like the romantic in me says Bruce Springsteen, but the realist in me says Bon Jovi.
I think you're right. Yeah.
You can get pork roll in New Jersey.
I think Bon Jovi really has touched on like the female aspect of New Jersey.
He's the heart and soul of Jersey.
He really shows
brought
you
to
what
life.
it's all about.
Yeah.
No doubt.
Whereas Bruce
Has there
had,
ever been a superhero from Jersey?
Kate Courtney Cox on stage with him?
There's had to have been. I'm sure there's at least been one of the X-Men from New Jersey.
Sure.
Well, yeah, there's only 800,000
Yeah.
X-Men.
There's that restaurant
Which
in Jersey.
brings
that
us to our next subject here on tonight's episode of Superheroes. Coming up after these messages.
From a spider hole in Arizona, this is the Truth Seekers Podcast. I'm Danny, your host and legend in her own mind, and I invite you to join me as I search for truth in audio form. Each episode, I will bring you headlines from different places on the internet world, along with commentary, interviews, and guests, all geared towards widening your perspective and guiding you in your own endless search for the truth. So come on over to truthseekerscast.com and join me here in the spider hole. Trust me, there is room for all seekers here, but no room for closed-mindedness.
people say they listen to anything, many times that means that person ignores music, that they don't get offended by any sonic wallpaper. The Spartacus Roosevelt Hour is a weekly music podcast, and it's not for people who listen to anything. It's for people who listen to everything. Abstract, concrete, noisy, melodic, acoustic, electric, and electronic. The Spartacus Roosevelt Hour jumps genres and styles while carving out its own sonic headspace. The Spartacus Roosevelt Hour at SpartacusRoosevelt.com/podcast. Where does music take you?